Hi, I'm Amy,
And I'm Sam.
and we're bad at watching movies.
But we're good at casting spells, brewing potions, and traveling to other worlds.
Okay.
That guy is such a wiener. Are you kidding me?
Are we bad at watching movies?
In this episode, we'll be discussing the 1998 TV movie Halloweentown.
Here at Bad at Watching Movies, we watch some of our favorite movies, good or bad. We talk about everything from scenes to characters, and we always have something to laugh about.
The IMDb summary for the film reads, when a young girl living with her secret witch mother learns she too is a witch, she must help her witch grandmother save Halloween from evil forces.
Witch joke. That's what my notes say. So, well, something interesting about this movie is that it was filmed really close to where we live. It was filmed in St. Helens, Oregon, which is not too far. And every year they do a little event called the Spirit of Halloweentown. And they even light the jack-o'-lantern, and the whole town looks like it does in the movie. And they put up all these Halloween decorations. And fun fact, a little bit of Twilight was filmed there too. So they kind of like double dip there. They're like, here's our Halloweentown stuff, and there's a little bit of Twilight.
Wow, such fun facts.
I love it. You can see Grandma Aggie's house. Well, you can walk up to it. You can't go inside.
Oh.
Unless you're special like me.
Isn't it like a bed and breakfast?
Yeah. It's really, really cute.
Yeah.
They redid the whole thing.
Cute.
So, first of all is our favorite, which is Grandma Aggie, or Agatha Cromwell. And she's a very powerful witch. She's played by Debbie Reynolds, who was in Singing in the Rain and a million other things. And she makes this movie. Like, we all know it is a very cheesy, like, budget, made-for-TV movie. I think it might be the first Disney Channel original movie. Don't quote me on that, but it might be. It's like one of the very first ones, at least. One of the first. And she just, like, makes it believable. I'm like, this woman is a witch. She always has been. She's been around for millions and millions of years and has just been doing this. And, yeah, I believe it.
Cool. The next character is the mom, Gwyneth, I believe is her full name, played by Judith Hoag. Judith, you're going to have to write to us and let us know how you say that. She's your classic mom, you know. There's a lot of like, mom moments in the movie, and she kind of is just like a downer, and she rubs off on the brother Dylan, who we'll talk about in a second, because he is literally a mini Gwen.
Well, he's a mama's boy. He kind of like, yeah.
So that's kind of Gwen, just overall.
Yeah. I feel like she has her reasons, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Next would be our main character, Marnie. Marnie Cromwell. I don't know what their actual... Is that their last name, though? Because their dad... I don't know. They never say. Maybe they do.
I mean, I wrote Marnie Cromwell on my notes, so I think she's
Mama's
a Cromwell.
Like, keeping the name, which makes sense. They're legendary witches, so like, it's important, even though she says it's not important to her, but maybe it is.
Yeah, but she's hoping to get a little something out of it, you know?
Yeah. And Marnie is played by Kimberly J. Brown, who I follow on TikTok because it's Kimberly J. Brown. Like, of course I follow her on TikTok. And fun fact, if you've seen the sequel, spoiler, there's a character in there, I'll just say that she's like kind of smitten with, and they're like actually an item in real life, and I think they're gonna get married, which is crazy. Like that
is so cute, actually.
Yeah, it's adorable. And they took time. It wasn't like we met in the movie and we've been together ever since. They like reconnected and became like intimate.
Cool. Well, and on to my favorite character, Dylan Cromwell, we think. I'm not sure what the last name of the kiddos actually are. Played by Joey Zimmerman. And Dylan is just one of the best characters. He's the most annoying, but he's also adorable and is just like a mama's boy, like we said before, and is just a little mini mom. And he is just hilarious. And at one point, he has a pajama set with a little glasses case in his pocket, and it's so cute. He's just the cutest, and he's one of my favorite characters from the movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
He enters in their room in that scene, I just know that he's like, make sure everyone checks their thermostat. It should be set at this like temperature to make sure you sleep efficiently. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, he's the best. And lastly,
we have Sophie, who is played by Emily Roski or Rosk, probably.
Again,
Roski.
write us how to say that, Emily. We'll figure it out.
And oh my God, I love Sophie though. Like, and without Sophie, nothing would happen in this movie. She's the reason they get through everything.
She is the glue.
Marnie's the main character, but Sophie, like, literally does so much.
Everything. We'll get into that. And then there's the evil villain Calabar, played by Robin Thomas. And yeah, not much to say about him right now, but we'll come to that.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Did we just reveal who the bad person is? But I guess it kind of, we all know.
Oh,
We've all seen the movie. We've all seen the movie.
We're bad, guys.
The
we're bad.
sequel is called Calabar's Revenge, so if you didn't know, you're not a person.
Yeah.
We're just going to go on into the story and what happens.
Well, I think we both have this in our notes because I saw it in yours, that the music in the beginning is just iconic. Personally, it has like a really positive like memory attached to it from childhood, because I loved Halloweentown growing up, especially like the first one. And so that music just is like, oh my God, it's Halloween time. Like, I'm going to go trick or treating and I'm going to have candy and eat all the like delicious things. And so it has that like positive memory associated with it.
Yeah.
When I hear that soundtrack, and I'm like, oh, so I love the beginning of the movie.
I'll confess something to you. My ringtone has been that theme song for about 2 years now.
Oh, really?
I haven't changed it.
I don't know if I ever hear
Someone
your
calls me and it just
phone
goes
ring.
ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, bum, bum, bum,
I
bum,
love that.
ba-na-na-na-na.
Oh my gosh.
It brings me joy every time I hear it. I thought I'd get tired of it, like an alarm, but no, it's great. I love it. But yeah, so we open with this song. We get the title screen. We get to see the jack-o'-lantern of Halloweentown, which is an important symbol for the town and later comes into play in the story.
Yeah.
And we kind of get like narration from Marnie, and she's like kind of describing the world of Halloweentown. And then we go to their neighborhood.
Yeah. And we're kind of seeing all the trick-or-treaters, going around. And there's one part where a kid goes, oh, this house? And the other kid's like, no, let's go to the next one. And I don't understand that. Are they like what is that, Christmas with the Cranks? Are they the Cranks version of Halloween?
I think so.
Where they don't love and celebrate it?
Because the mom's always like, no Halloween. We're not doing anything for Halloween. You're not supposed to decorate or anything. So I think they have no decorations. My guess is that their porch light is off. It's those people in your neighborhood, who turn off their porch light. They don't decorate because whatever reason they don't celebrate Halloween. It's fine if you don't, but it's also kind of lame.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so the mom doesn't celebrate. So that's my guess, is like it's probably just like dark. But like there's kids in the window and stuff because they're all peeking outside.
That's my next note. Sophie's quote next is, someone's coming. And you're like, what the fuck? Why are you so creepy?
But again, she's like already knows. Like she's in the know. She is very powerful.
Yeah. And then Marnie's trying to go out with her friends for Halloween, and her mom's like, you're only 13, you're not old enough. And she was like, I am old enough. And apparently in Marnie's eyes, I wrote this down, being 13 makes her an adult. So
that sounds like a 13-year-old. So it's a great line.
Yeah. And then then her friends throw her under the fucking bus.
Oh my gosh, yeah, her friends are like, she's totally into Halloween. And one of them's like, yeah, she's always doodling ghosts in her notebook. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Everyone doodles a little bit here and there. But like, it's kind of weird that maybe in the off season that she's just like, I'm fucking drawing ghosts all the time.
But why does she have to out her to her parents?
To her mom, who obviously is not okay with Halloween.
Like, I would be so pissed off when my friends like, oh yeah, Amy's just doodling all the time in class and not doing anything else. I'd be like, what the freaking heck?
Excuse you? Yeah.
Please don't. Yeah. And so then the mom's like, all right, bye to her friends. And then they leave. And that's kind of the end of the scene. But there's something interesting about one of the girls in the scene that Sam has kind of a personal connection to.
One of my brothers had dated one of those girls. So
the clown?
Yeah, I believe it was the clown, which is just, it's like I said, it's filmed in, we probably know other people somehow. Like, friend to friend knows a friend. There's actually another person that I somehow have like I don't know what you call that, but like connection to a connection to a connection. So yeah, I feel like because it's filmed here, there's going to be those people where it's like, oh, I actually kind of know who that is, or have some sort of like connection to them.
Yeah, because I'm sure they just did like a general casting call to like Portland area people,
for all the side characters. I'm sure they were just you know,
so they just like put out a casting call and a bunch of locals wanted to do it. I have a camera note. I was a little more, I was very in depth. At some points, Marnie's face is so zoomed in. And I'm not sure if it's like made for TV kind of thing where it doesn't format right or something, but it's like there's points where it's just her and then it's zoomed out on everyone else and then like Marnie's face, and it happens in the beginning and the end of the movie.
It's weird. I think it's a stylistic choice, but something I also noticed when I was watching it, because I was watching it on Disney Plus, and I'm sure you were too, is it is in widescreen. So I'm assuming that they filmed it in widescreen, but when they had to put it on TVs back in the day, it would have been 4:3. So it would have been cut off the edges, but that wouldn't change the zoom in, like that would still be that would be on like 4:3 would be even like closer because she'd be taking up the whole frame.
Yeah, it's just like it was very
at least she's expressive. So
yeah,
so essentially from there it's just like the mom's like, no, you're not going. So friends leave, mom's like, you're staying here. Marnie has a fit, and she like says things like, the mom says something about like, there's some things about Halloween that you just don't understand, which is like foreshadowing kind of like all of the stuff that she knows. But Marnie, my favorite, it's just such a sassy like bit where she sits on the couch and she says that she's like a couch potato and maybe she'll sprout roots, and she's like, oh no, Marnie, there's just some things about vegetables that you don't understand. And I'm like, the sass of a 13-year-old, like, ooh.
Yeah. And then I have Dylan is a buzzkill. There's a scene of him reading a book that's called Flagship, and I can't figure out what that is.
I don't know it, which probably just shows that I'm not smart, but Dylan is supposed to be smart.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like, oh, he read textbooks, so he's super smart.
And then economics.
And I have a Dylan quote: candy causes cavities and gum disease. So he's just a buzzkill on Halloween of all times to be like, candy ruins your teeth. It's like, shut up.
I think he's just trying to suck up to his mom though and just please her. So whatever. But anyway, someone's coming, and the person that is coming is me. No, it's Grace.
Gosh.
Grandma Aggie shows up out of nowhere.
In a school bus.
Which apparently is a magic flying bus. And she's like, come on, bag. And her bag follows her. And it's literally like, I love that it just like, it follows her on the sidewalk. And you can tell it's just like a little RC car is underneath that thing. Like, it's just a remote control car like driving along the road. But I will say that I like it a lot more than the weird CGI reptile version that they have in the third movie.
Yeah.
Because that one is just,
a lot.
I don't like that it's like an alligator. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but I like when it's just a little bag and it isn't on an RC car.
Yeah. And then, Dylan has comments about that too. Where he's like, oh, I don't even remember what he says, but he has some.
He always tries to disprove everything because he's boring.
And then she shows up to the house. Gwen is just already annoyed with her. Like the first sight of her, she's just rolling her eyes. Yeah. So we know where Marnie gets that from,
Mm-hmm. And because, she doesn't want the grandma to tell them about Halloweentown.
Yeah.
She doesn't want him to bring up all this Halloween stuff. But of course she brings all of this candy, all of these Halloween decorations, and costumes.
Yeah.
And the kids are all stoked, even Dylan. So like, come on, Mom. Like, let them have a little fun. And I feel like for me, it's weird. Like, kids love, it's like that reverse psychology thing. Kids are going to do what you tell them not to do. So I feel like she should have just let them have Halloween and then not made it seem like there's some weird secret behind it and just had it normal, and they probably would have been fine. But because she won't talk to them about Halloween or anything Halloween related, they're like, really want to do it now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, should have just been like, oh, this is a normal holiday. It's all good. And the candy's like old person candy, so it's like
butterscotch. What I like butterscotch, but butterscotch, those weird strawberry things
with the goop inside of them.
Yeah. Does anyone go out and buy those strawberry candies on purpose?
I would like to know. And then so a really funny moment that happens is they're pulling stuff out of the bag, and they pull a pentagram, which is like the star shaped, and it's like a necklace, and so Marnie starts putting it on, and they're all fine with that. And pentagrams, I did a little research, are kind of like dark witch.
Yeah, it's like dark magic, witchy stuff. Yeah.
And then she pulls out a rock with like hieroglyphics on it, and the mom loses her mind. She goes, "Mother," and like loses her mind over a rock with like hieroglyphics. But then Marnie's wearing this like witch necklace, so it's like, what is she doing?
Yeah, and you'd think she'd be more concerned about the witch stuff, but no, it's like, and I understand like maybe the hieroglyphics, they could have been with like ancient Egyptian gods or something or whatever. But
Yeah.
it feels more like historical than the other one, where it's just like, she's like, I just don't want them to learn about ancient Egypt. So now it's like, this bitch doesn't like Halloween and she doesn't like ancient Egypt either.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, they all get their costumes. Marnie is a Wiccan, or that's what she says. I like her like costume though. It's all like purple and frilly and orange and like just colorful. I don't know if it's really like what someone who is a Wiccan would actually wear, but like it's just colorful, and it reminds me of that like classic like princess hat, like the long cone.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then Sophie just gets a ghost costume, which is pretty much just a sheet with like holes cut out. It's kind of lame. I feel bad for her.
Yeah. She got the short end.
And then
of the
Dylan's
stick.
like a Viking, but it's like very plump, and he's like, I'm a giant pimple.
Yeah.
But he still enjoys it, which I think is important to note, that he actually, you can tell he's having a good time.
My next note is Aggie quote, being normal is vastly overrated. So if
That's
you want
the
to talk about
best.
that.
I mean, everyone knows this quote because every time you'd see it on Disney Channel, they would put this like clip from the movie to advertise the movie is going to be on. But it's also a great line to use in life.
Yeah.
And she just says, being normal is vastly overrated. And it's true, because if you're like normal and bland and boring, then you can just go home and take a nap and read your flagship book and have a grand old time.
Yeah.
I'll be doing other stuff.
Yeah, and then so basically Aggie is having a conversation. I think this is important. Aggie's having a conversation with Gwen, being like, you guys should move back home, meaning Halloweentown, and Gwen is basically like, no, we want a normal life here. And I think that's what prompts her to say being normal is vastly overrated. So that's, and then it's bedtime story time.
Yeah, and like this was a whole argument. They had to kind of be like, mother, don't tell them about home. And she's like, I won't.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately cut to, we're having bedtime story time with the two daughters. So Marnie and Sophie are there and grandma's there. And then Dylan walks in, of course. And that's where he says the thermostat line. And he's, obviously it's an excuse because he wants to be there. He just doesn't want to like, he's playing this role. He doesn't, he wants everyone to think, oh, I'm serious and I don't care about story time. But he wants to be there for the story time.
He really does. How old is he?
That's a good question. If Marnie's 13 and Sophie's like
6.
I was going to say 8, but I don't know kids' ages.
So he must be
terrible.
10. I want to say 10. Maybe they're 2 years apart.
Yeah, I could see him being 10 or 11 maybe.
Okay.
And then Sophie's probably like 7 or 8.
Because Marnie is 13 or going to turn 13?
It's her 13th birthday. I think her birthday is Halloween, right? Or is it not?
I have no idea.
Or it's going to be?
I feel like she's going to be 13.
Yeah, because that ends a witch's training should end when she's 13, and then she like goes out into the world. But if they're never trained, then they become human, which is her mom's intention.
Okay.
To like not have her become a witch, which is kind of a weird stipulation, but whatever. I know 13 has always been a thing for witches. It's in Kiki's Delivery Service, so we know it's true.
Sophie's really excited about the book. She's very cute. Sophie is probably one of the cutest characters. She's like, look, a ghost, just like we were playing.
Yeah, she's just like... Yeah, she's really cute. And then what's the other one? Oh, there's like a weird like gross fish guy. And she's like snot man, and like it's just all the things a little kid would say. She knows her role.
Yeah. And then we get to the part where she's flipping through the book, and it's like a book called Halloweentown. And you were saying that the actress who plays Marnie might have the book.
Yeah,
still.
She made a TikTok. And she, like, the prop she kept was the book. And I think it might be signed by the other cast members or something like that. But it's so cute because, like, it's one of a kind, Like, it was printed and illustrated for this movie. Which is why I think this next part is so weird, is because if it was illustrated for the movie, they could have made the witch in the picture look a lot more like Marnie specifically. Like, I understand it's a stylistic thing, but, like, the sister, Sophie's like, look, it's Marnie. And it just looks like a generic brown-haired girl. Like it's just like it doesn't look like a specific person.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to, and they play like a cool little sound effect and everything, and I'm like, I'm not convinced.
Yeah. Yeah, so the book has her at the end, and Marnie's like, oh, but it looks nothing like her, obviously. And then the grandma starts talking about Halloweentown and the Cromwell family and their lineage and all of that. And then the mom comes in and it's like, stop. And then so Gwen is pissed.
Yeah, because Aggie pretty much almost told Marnie, like, about her past, that she's a witch, all that stuff. But just in time, Gwen cuts it off and is like, nope, we're going to bed. everyone goes to bed, and like she says grandma needs to go home, and they're all sad that grandma can't stay, and they're like, why can't you like stay the night or something? Grandma's like, no, I have to go. So they go to bed, and then I took this in my notes just because like they go to bed, and Sophie lays down, and she is like halfway up her pillow, like most of her body is on the pillow, and she lays like with her hands resting on her side, and I'm like, this girl fell asleep in 2 seconds, which is not possible. I guess when you're a kid, maybe. I struggle to fall asleep.
I still do.
But like being halfway up on the pillow, and it just watch the movie, take a look. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And then we move to the kitchen where Gwen and Aggie are talking about Marnie and how she's about to turn 13, and that's when her witch training would be finalized. Which
is kind of terrible. Like, I understand that Gwen has her reasons, and I feel like maybe we should get into that here in a second, but that's so horrible. Like, this is a life-changing thing, and if she doesn't do it now, then she doesn't have an option for the rest of her life. And that's scary. That's, like, really sad. Like, it should be her choice. Yeah, I know she's 13, but, like, she needs to know.
Yeah, she should be like, oh, you have these powers that you could have. Do you want them or do you not want them?
Yeah.
But, Gwen just won't let her have it because she doesn't want that life.
Yeah,
for Marnie, I guess.
I understand. I think for me, my theory really about it is that she's still grieving the loss of her husband. Her husband is a normal human man that she fell in love with, and so she decided to stay in the human world, have a family, and kind of live like a normal life. But she grew up in Halloweentown with Aggie as a witch, knowing all that stuff, and maybe she knows how dangerous it can be in Halloweentown because like stuff goes down there. So maybe she just didn't want to be involved at all. But I also can understand that like if she's still grieving the loss of her husband, she may the one thing she can cling on to is like the human world, is this world that he's from. And I think for her, because she lost him first before she lost her own mother, maybe she's like clinging onto this world, the human world, and wants her kids to not forget their roots on the father's side, or that who he was, and doesn't want her kids to forget him. But then she's dismissing all of her past, from Halloweentown and her mother.
How did they meet? Was it like what did Gwen cross over to the real world? Did he go to
this is what I want. I want the 5th movie. There's 4. I want it to be a prequel. I want it to be about young Gwen and her like story. I think it'd be so good.
That is a great idea because I
want to know how they met. All we know about them is that they met on Halloween and that he's dead now. We don't know how he died. We know that she loved him dearly, and that's all. Like, it's not relevant. Even they make 3 more movies after this, and it's still never addressed. We may see a picture on like a table or something, but I don't quite remember.
Yeah, he's very just like mentioned once or twice in the movie, and that's about it. Yeah. Oh, and then there's a whole bit where, they're talking about how Marnie's going to turn 13. And she needs to be trained, and the mom's like, we're not going to train her. And then of course Marnie sneaks down and she's listening to the whole thing. And then she turns the fried chicken into a real chicken.
Yeah, she's like, what keeps better on the bone at Grandma Aggie, and she turns it into a real chicken. But my question here is, it's a full ass chicken. And if they ate part of the chicken, then when she turns it back to a real chicken, parts of it would be missing. Like, for one, the head, because you don't eat a chicken head. Like, so it would be headless at the very least.
Right.
And there wouldn't be, like, the feet and then whatever parts they ate. So it's just very weird to me that it turns into a whole chicken. It shouldn't bother me, but it does.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like, what did you not eat? Any of the chicken?
Yeah, and it's, like, nice fried chicken. Like, that mom made a good dinner.
Yeah. I would love to have fried chicken when I was growing up for dinner, but my parents never did that. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. I feel like frying anything can be a little more of a...
And it's dangerous, too.
Yeah.
I'd
Oil
never...
splashing up on your face.
I never fry
and get
anything.
acne. We're not doing it.
And then there's hints at there's trouble in Halloweentown. Aggie's asking Gwen to come back for help because the Cromwell family is very powerful. And Aggie's like, I am trying to defeat it or work it out, but I need their strength in numbers. Like, you're a powerful witch as well. So come back with me. Let's do this together. And Gwen says no. And then...
It's weird to me. Like, I get it because she doesn't want to be involved, but like... I wish she would take her mother a little more seriously. Like, she kind of rubs it off like, oh, there's nothing wrong. But it's like, everyone has, like, there's people that have magic here. Like, something crazy could be happening.
Right.
You don't know. You could at least go check it out or whatever. But she doesn't want to be involved at all. And again, she could still be like grieving, and that could be this big purpose of, I don't even want to go back. I want to just remember my husband and live the normal life that I thought I was going to have.
Yeah.
But
if we knew the timeline of when the dad died, I just feel like we're not given any information about the dad.
I'm telling you. Halloweentown 5 or Halloweentown prequel. I want it.
And then Marnie and Dylan start to kind of talk about what she heard downstairs, and she starts getting changed because she's actually going after Aggie.
I love that she changes into her Halloween costume. Like, she doesn't put on normal girl clothes. She's like, no, we're going to Halloweentown, so I need to wear the costume that Grandma gave me.
Yes. Yeah, so they follow Aggie to the bus and get on it and sneak through the back.
And the bus stop comes down, like the stop sign just comes down, the bus stop sign. It's a spider web, which I love, but also it's just like kind of generic looking. Like, it looks like someone might have made it in Microsoft Paint. I'm just saying. And then they sneak on this bus through the back door, which is like an emergency exit. It's a school bus, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'd think it'd be like a public transit type bus. Because she's going on like public. I mean, I know it's Magic World, whatever, but like it's literally a yellow school bus. It's probably a St. Helens school district school bus, honestly.
Yeah, it's probably what they could get. I don't know how big of a budget this movie had, so they did what they could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, they get on it and
they're flying through the air, and Dylan's like, "Oh, it's probably just some charter bus coming back from a Halloween party." I'm like, "You're flying through the air." Yeah. Like I don't know, Dylan.
I don't know how, like, he's just in total denial at that point.
Yeah.
Like, if you're literally in the sky. And some of the monsters look like pretty real. Props to the makeup person here. Because, like, actually the makeup in this movie is pretty decent for, like, again, the budget and what we're seeing. And one of the stupidest lines is at this part where there's like a weird, I don't know if he's like an alien or like a goblin. He's green.
Yeah.
And he's talking to one of the guys next to him because they're all kind of talking about how like kids these days aren't really getting scared. It's no big deal. Like, I tried to scare him, but it didn't really work out. And he says, I raise a demon from the underworld. Big deal. I saw it on Jerry Springer. I was like, this is a very dated joke, and it's also hilarious, and I love it.
Is it the Frankenstein guy?
I think he's talking to the Frankenstein. It's like that he's like got green ears.
Oh,
and at the end, he's wearing like a spacesuit. It looks like at the very end when they're waving it, that's just way later. Like, I just remember looking at him and I'm like, it looks like he's like from outer space. Like, his suit is like white and gold.
Maybe he's like an alien or something.
I don't know. I have a lot of confusion about the types of creatures in this world, but we're getting there.
And then they get to Halloweentown, and it's very exciting.
Yeah,
it's hustling and bustling.
It's the prettiest little town, and you can visit in real life.
Yeah,
which we're going to, and I have, and you're gonna love it. And I'm excited for you to see it.
I'm very excited. Maybe once this comes out, I'll have seen it.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
We're going. So they land there. Aggie is like nowhere to be found when they hop off the bus. So I think they snuck off the back again because it kind of just drives off and they're there. And then we find out that Sophie snuck on as well.
Yep.
And she's there, which is great because we want the kids together. It makes the show way better.
Yeah, when all three of them are together. And then we meet Calabar.
Yeah.
The creepy mayor.
He's the mayor.
I don't like
him. And not
him.
the bad guy.
And not the bad guy. He's just the mayor.
Couldn't be bad. Even though he already comes across as creepy. Like, I feel like it's kind of heavy-handed and it feels like something's off about this guy. Because he immediately, like, approaches these children. He's like, the mayor's supposed to know everybody. And it's like, what? You immediately know that there's different people in your world. Like, I know you're magic, but that's still weird that you're, like,
you zoom in on them.
And here's the weird thing is he, like, meets them all. He figures out, oh, you're like Gwen's kids. He used to date the mom.
Yep.
So they're like, oh, you know our mom. That's interesting. And he pulls a little trick and he pulls out a lollipop from his ear.
Yep.
And gives it to Sophie. And she's like, no. And I'm like, good, because that's disgusting. It's ear candy and I don't want any of that.
Do not take candy from strangers.
Yeah. Strangers or from their ears.
Or from their ears.
So don't take strangers. Don't take candy from a stranger's ear.
Don't take strangers.
Don't take strangers. You don't need any more. You have plenty.
And then they do tell Calabar that they are the Cromwells, and he's very intrigued and asks immediately if Gwen is there.
Yeah.
He's like, is Gwen there?
Yeah.
Is your mom here?
We're like, no, she's not. We're just here visiting our grandma. And he's like, oh. And they're asking where she lives, and he gives the address. He's like, oh, where she's lived for the last 300 years. And they're like, 300 years? What?
Grandma's old. And so, they get a lift from Benny.
Benny is
the skeleton
I love
taxi
Benny the
driver.
skeleton. He tells all these jokes. They're all like bone puns about him being a skeleton and not having eyes or all these things. And also, I think he's animatronic, or at least his face is. It could have been CG'd, but it looks decent to me. Like, I'm watching it and I'm like, his eyebrows and like the movement of his face looks good. I was like, this movie,
very impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive. So they get up to Aggie's house, and here's the first look at how Sophie is amazing.
Yeah.
Because they're at the gate, and they can't get it open, and Marnie tries all of these, like, hocus pocus, open the gate, blah, 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 bullshit kind of spells. And then freaking Sophie just, like, wishes that the lock turns into a frog, and it does,
yeah.
and it opens.
Yeah, she immediately just gets,
It was like, okay.
Gets them through. Perfect. Okay, and then they go in and they see Grandma, and she's like, oh my God, you're here. And she's so excited to see him. I actually really I know it's like just a small little thing as she just saw them, but she's like so excited to see them.
Well, she sees them like once a year.
Yeah, because it's the only day the portal between the two worlds is open is on Halloween night. And once it's midnight in the human world, it closes again. Mm-hmm. And we find out that time works differently in Halloweentown, that it's kind of wishy-washy, because the grandma says like, oh, it's faster. But she's like, oh, it could just be 2 hours here. But then she's like, it could be 2 weeks if we're on vacation. And I don't know if it's a joke or if it's literally how time is just kind of warped in Halloweentown.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really find that one out. I really like on her mic. This is a thing, like a detail thing. But I really like the boil, bubble, toil, and trouble on her microwave.
Yeah.
I think that's a really fun detail.
It's just like hokey, but it's great. Like, I love that that's a prop that someone was like, we need to make this. We need to make microwave buttons that say bubble, toil, and trouble
and she
on it.
Pushes them in order.
Yeah.
It's just a
bubble,
really
bubble,
cute,
toil, trouble.
a very fun detail
Yeah.
that they added in that movie.
There's a lot of those little things
Yeah.
that I really appreciate in this
Yeah.
movie. No matter how low the budget is, no matter how cheesy it is, like, there are these little details that are so good.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. And so she's doing that because she's making a spell. She's going to light this talisman that she has, which is like this little stick with an orb on it. It's got a little claw hand. And it's supposed to like help them. We don't really know how. We just know that she needs to make this potion, fill the thing up, this is another one of my favorite lines where Marnie's like, ooh, are you going to raise spirits from the dead and call upon the forces of darkness to help you? And she's like, no, I'm just going to fill it up and see if the light goes on.
Oh, and then another good quote is Sophie walks to the kitchen and goes, "You cooking chowder, Grandma? I like chowder." That's another good one from that.
But I mean, who doesn't love a good chowder, you know?
And the witch's brew is instant.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. She's like, so it doesn't work out. The witch's brew, it fails. And she's like, oh, that's what I get for using instant. So there's like instant versions of potions that you can buy at the store in this world, and she's like, oh, we got to make it from scratch. There's got to be a way to do this better.
Yeah. The glitter.
Oh, I was gonna say we were just talking about the glitter.
Yeah, I mean the glitter, she like kind of, when she's trying to get she's like saying a spell and she's trying to get the light to turn on, and she just like throws, and it's like the most just like Michael's craft store
glitter,
like glitter that she throws everywhere, and you're like, okay.
And it's zoomed in on it
funny.
too. I totally understand using that if no one's really gonna see it, like it's just kind of but it's literally zoomed in on the talisman and it's just sprinkled on there, and you're like, okay, she had some like craft glitter and just it's magic. But anyway, they essentially decide, okay, we have to make the spell or make the potion from scratch. And so she goes and gets her book, finds out what the recipe is, and Marnie's like, okay, we'll help you out. Like, let's go and do this. So together they're going to go into town and get all the ingredients, because she's like, we can get them all in town. This stuff exists here. Yeah.
And then we quickly cut back to the real world where Mom is eating candy and watching TV. And then she goes up to check on the kiddos, and oops, they're gone. So now she has to figure that out.
I'm fully disappointed in these children for not placing a bunch of pillows under their covers and making it look like they were under their covers. Like, at least trying.
They did nothing.
Sheets are pulled open. Like, it's very obvious that there's no one in these beds in like an instant. And come on, kids, be smarter than that. At least try.
Yeah. Oh, and then so they're on their way. They're kind of like walking through town, and they see, I don't remember her name, but it's
Agnes. Her friend Agnes. No, it's Harriet. Is like her neighbor, and she's like, oh my gosh, how are you doing? And she's like, oh, Her joke. She's like, she made cupcakes because she works at the headless shelter, and she's like, it didn't occur to me that they couldn't eat them. No heads.
And you also know that person
Well,
through.
so my boyfriend's mom knows her.
Yeah.
Which is just like another, like I said, the connection to a
Weird.
connection,
Yeah.
like knows this woman. And yeah, so she met her. It's like, this is a real person. Yeah, it's just crazy.
We have to point out that the friend
Oh, yeah.
is cracked out and acting really strange.
Yeah, her friend, when she sees her later
It's
on,
like-
she like looks spooky and scary, which is kind of what she described to the mom before. She's like, people are changing in Halloweentown. I see them, they change, and then they disappear altogether, and I don't know what's going on. And so now we're seeing it play out. She looks creepy, and now she's gone. And of course, it's when they're walking by the movie theater, which says closed forever. And I know we have a bunch of side notes, but last night when I was watching the movie again, the grandma was saying, oh, we have like the best movies ever. It's a Wonderful Death. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, who wrote this script?
Oh, it's so good. Then they go to the ice cream shop. And Calabar shows up and pulls another fucking ice cream cone out of his butthole this time or something like that. Hands it to Sophie. And Sophie's like, yum.
Yeah, this
And
time
she
she
starts
goes for it because
eating
she's like,
it.
we met before, so I guess we're not strangers. So you can eat ass ice cream from
Yeah.
non-strangers.
And then
Mom's
Aggie.
ex.
Yeah, mom's.
I'm eating ice cream from mom's ex. I don't know.
And then Aggie's like, oh, I've just saw my friend she's talking to Calabar. I just saw my friend. She's not acting normal. And Calabar's like, oh, I'll look into it. Kind of being weird and suspicious about it.
Yeah, and he says like, why don't you let me look into it for you? And you leave this be for like, and he says like a couple days or 24 hours or something. And she literally just gives him a look and does not agree. And he's like, you're just so stubborn, and like kind of backs off because he knows he can't change her mind.
Right.
And I'm like, good for you, because I think that she knows that he's up to something. Because
Yeah.
that's so suspicious. Be like, don't worry about it. I'll look into it for you. The second someone says something like that,
Yeah.
When someone just says like, trust me, don't question anything I'm saying, that's when you need to question everything that they're saying.
Everything.
That's
Yeah.
how cults start, kids.
And then Marnie spots brooms on the street. And she's like, I want a broom.
Yeah, she's a witch.
Mm-hmm.
She just found out she's a witch. She's got to fly. Girl's got to fly.
Yeah. And Luke, who is another character, he's just the skeleton guy describes him as like a punk.
Yeah, he's like, that guy is such a wiener.
Yeah. So we meet him. He's kind of like the bad boy of the town. Like he has like the smug, like, I don't know, just like your typical bad boy
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then he ends up asking Marnie out. I don't know if it's for real or if it's like a joke.
I
But-
think it might be for real. I think he thinks she's cute, but he's kind of an asshole.
He asked her out in like an assholey way, like a child asking out someone they have a crush on.
Yeah,
and
it
they're
is
like
like,
mean.
let's like blow this place and like, hang out with me.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, no, I'm here with my grandma and she's gonna teach me how to fly, so maybe back off. And he calls himself the Big Cheese, and she's like, I think I smelled something stinky. Maybe it was the Big Cheese.
Yep.
Iconic. What a comeback.
And then the salesman quote says, "Oh, that Luke dude, he's turned into such a wiener." And my comment was, okay. The salesman is weird too because he's like a skeleton, a zombie, but he's like Elvis.
Yeah, I think they just really wanted to play up like the kooky car salesman kind of trope, but it's like
It comes off as Elvis.
Yeah, he's like "Buh, buh, duh, buh, duh." Yeah, he's like very like
Hey,
showy
you
and
wanna
there's glitter and
buy a broom here.
yeah.
Yeah. And then they buy the broom and Marnie and Aggie end up going for a ride and they leave Dylan
Yeah, they
and
just
Sophie.
leave Dylan and Sophie, but they're just going for like a quick little flight. But it's so funny because it is a made-for-TV movie from the 90s, so it's just not the best looking when they're flying. But you know what? The actors fully
They
make
believe
you-
that they're
yeah.
flying.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
really make it work, and that I am impressed with.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it is not as they try to make it kind of work. Like you see like the clock tower from the city hall kind of in the background, and then the way they edit it from them like flying down is just like a camera coming down, like it looks like a shot from like a drone or something, and then they're like, oh, we landed.
Yeah. And then when they land, Mommy's here.
Mom's here in a full denim getup. Denim jacket, denim jeans.
Yeah,
high-waisted
high-waisted mom jeans. She looks good. And everyone's really sad because they're like, oh, we have to go home now. But there's some trouble with the buses.
Yeah.
There's like a two-headed, like conjoined twin situation with the bus guys.
Which is weird. Like, the people in Halloweentown are supposed to be like creatures and like monsters, but it's like a conjoined twin is just like a thing that happens sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just some of the characters, we'll get into it later, but there are some certain characters that don't make sense. Like, so basically the bus system isn't working, so the mom's like, oh, I'll go to Calabar because we know each other and the mayor can, or no, she doesn't know that he's the mayor when she goes to get the mayor's help. And then there's, when they walk into the mayor's office, there's this weird goblin guy that like whistles at her.
Oh, the little like weird, it's like, kind of like a bat goblin.
He's like, boss, someone's here for you. And then she walks in and he like whistles, and it's like really weird.
It's just a really gross, creepy thing.
And then there's some sexual tension between Gwen and Calabar.
A dead rose come to life, and then she's like, you always did let your magic do the talking.
Ugh. And the kids are just like, okay.
They barf.
And then another weird character is the pincushion lady.
Yeah, okay. So his secretary is this... she's hilarious, first of all, though. Like, this woman is really funny. But she's just a pincushion. That's her... Is that a creature that's known around Halloween time that I'm not familiar with? She literally is a pincushion that's just wrapped around. And I'm like, is it just supposed to be a woman wearing a costume? But if that's the case, why is she in Halloweentown? So then she must be like a pincushion being, like a thing that is a pincushion. But how is that Halloween?
I don't know.
Like, you know,
and
I don't know.
It's just her occupation because she's like the secretary. Yeah. So it's just.
She has notes and she says she's on pins and needles, and she just goes off laughing. This is, I think, almost every character almost breaks during that point. I was watching it and she says the like pins and needles, and she walks off and she's like, oh, and her laugh is hilarious. Everyone kind of smirks in this scene, like Calabar, Mom, the kids, and I'm like, I think we're all just trying to keep it in because this woman is hilarious.
Yeah, she killed it. She killed it in her little moment. And then we cut to Luke and Aggie on the street, and Luke's like, I know what's going on in the town. I know who's wreaking havoc on the city. So they kind of wander off together. Sophie, being Sophie and just always staring out the window, is like, oh, I see. Where are they going? So they actually the mother and the kiddos end up running after Luke and Aggie.
But she says, what does she say? She says,
look, Grandma's going somewhere with the wiener dude. Direct quote.
Beautiful.
And so they go to the theater that we saw earlier, and we kind of walk into the theater, and then we see kind of what's been going on, and it's basically like a bunch of the town folk like frozen.
Yeah, they're all gross and nasty because Agnes is one of them, and they're like, it reminds me of the like wax museum in Ripley's Believe It or Not. I don't know if you've been there, but it reminds me of that because they're all like very frozen. Like I feel like they just made dummies to be in the chairs.
Probably. And so they kind of see what's going on, and then all of a sudden it's like wind starts blowing and this creature appears in the movie theater screen.
Yeah, and he's terrifying. He, again, props to the makeup person because it's like scarecrowy, like it's like patchy green, but it looks like burlap, and he's creepy.
Yeah, it's a really well made movie, I think.
For what they were working with, I like every time I watch it, I'm like, okay, we have to like, in the context of how this was made, I'm impressed. Yeah. So he appears in the movie screen. And Aggie asks, so this is why so many have disappeared. You put them under an evil spell, and then you turn them into statues. The goblin, she's talking to the goblin, and she says, the goblin says they're not statues, but frozen in time until he needs them. Yeah. So he's going to like recruit these people
like an
or bring
army
them back. Yeah.
Situation.
Because he's turned them into monsters. So like I think ideally he's like, oh, I want them to terrorize people once they're like free. But for now, I don't need them because my plan's not like, hasn't executed his plan yet.
Yeah. Then Gwen and the kids come running in.
Yeah.
Barreling in.
And Gwen sees that Luke's there, and Luke realizes, oh, like he told me no one was going to get hurt. He's working with Calabar, and he's like, he told me no one was going to get hurt, but now he's breaking that promise. I got to get out of here and not be a part of this anymore. So we're like, okay, Luke's not a terrible person, but he's kind of an idiot. And the mom tries to like cast a spell on him. The rhyme goes wrong, and he gets covered in flowers instead of like destroyed, which, you know, maybe is for the best.
Then the guy in the movie screen starts attacking the grandma and the mom, and then Gwen jumps in front of Aggie and gets hit by the frozen thing, and then
she's paralyzed. And then Aggie gets hit, and they're both paralyzed. So now it's just the kids,
and the kids
they
are just
what
like,
to do.
So the kids start running out, and then
ooh, here's a moment though. A couple things happen.
Okay.
Because one is just weird to me because, like, I get it. I guess Grandma Aggie had to get some words out, and it just kind of makes me laugh because it feels very like I need to explain what's going on kind of moment for the kids, because she's like, it's just an evil spell that freezes us, and I'm like, you'd think the line would get cut off, or like if she really was frozen, like maybe they couldn't make it out, but you could tell they were getting to the end of the movie, and they're like, we just need to explain what's going on to the kids, so she just fully says that, and then she's frozen right after that. And I'm like, just the timing of that feels very awkward.
Yeah.
And then another moment for Sophie, though. She's the one who opens the door, and the light blinds him, and that the monsters can't go out into the light. And so when she opens the door, and I'm like, okay, Sophie for the win again.
She's a badass. She is an absolute badass.
Yeah, she really just,
And then the kids go, okay, well, we need to create this, the potion that Aggie was trying to make at the beginning of the movie. They're like, we need to actually make this from scratch. So then it's kind of like a montage of them going around town and getting all the ingredients. The first ingredient is the hair of a werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to a barber shop where a werewolf is working, and basically shave off the entire back of his head.
Yeah, first of all, I love the barbershop because it's just like weird what's going on. And I think he says something about like sulfuric acid treatment for the hair, and he's like, oh, look at these split ends, and he like likes them because it's supposed to be like weird and creepy, and so he likes that they're split ends.
Yeah.
And then there's like a shrub person there, but yeah, they go and Dylan shaves his head, like a big chunk of his hair, and I'm like, you could have just like plucked a hair,
or snipped a little bit.
Yeah.
But he shaved the whole back of his head, and then he looks in the mirror and he goes, this is a good look. Clearly cannot see the back of his head.
You can't even see it.
It's so funny. It's so funny. So they do that, and then they go to the gym. And this is where we meet the cat and dog people.
Again, weird creatures that I don't like. What? Maybe cat people I can see because like black cats are Halloween, but there's like dog people and like a tiger lady, and
I just don't understand how that's Halloween. I just don't understand how, like, I don't know. I just don't understand.
It's like the pincushion lady and the conjoined twin, where I'm like, is this really like, I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Anyway.
And so the next thing is the sweat of a ghost. That's the next ingredient. I feel like I'm playing Disney villainess right now.
You need the sweat of a ghost.
And so they
They should
go.
add Calabar to that game. Anyway.
Ooh, that would be good.
That'd be a fun one.
So they go to a steam room where a ghost is in like this like hot box essentially, and they turn it up really high and they get the sweat, and they run out, and then the ghost steps out of it and turns like really skinny.
Yeah, because they turned it up so hot that he lost weight, but also he's a ghost, and it's where the ghosts sweat. But who cares? It's a fun, gaggy, weird movie. So
yeah. And then the last ingredient they need is a vampire's fang. And just at the right moment, there was a vampire getting her tooth pulled. And they were able to sneak in and be like a dental hygienist and wait there and able to retrieve the tooth and run out of there.
Yeah.
It's like, how?
Yeah, it's like too perfect. The movie is like rushing at this point. It's like we're just getting all the ingredients. We're going to get to the end of the movie. And they try to throw in a couple more little things in there where it's like, one, the thing that I notice is her tooth is just blacked over with a pen.
Yep.
It's like too obvious. I think it's fine to do that, but you can cover it up better. You know, like don't let certain lines be visible when she's putting her teeth together, whatever. But it's very obvious. And then the other thing is that we find out that the dentist who pulled the tooth is the tooth fairy. But he's got like this he's kind of creepy looking. It's like a goblin thing. But apparently he's a tooth fairy.
Yeah. Hey, you know? And then Benny shows back up. But it's not Benny.
Benny is possessed by whatever this evil magic is that's going around, and he like pulls Dylan in the car, which I remember as a child being terrified of Benny in this moment. I was like, this skeleton is evil. I'm pretty sure I had nightmares about it. He grabs him, and then Sophie saves the day again.
Yeah, and she throws a bone into the taxi, right? And a dog attacks him.
I think she just releases the dog and it goes after him and he drives off.
Oh, I thought she had a bone. I thought she had a bone
she
in her.
Might have thrown. She does have a bone in her hat. She might have thrown it.
I thought that's
she
what
might
happened.
have thrown it. Honestly,
We're fighting.
Controversial.
So he runs off. And they start to make the potion. So it's all going good. They just like everything's going in. She's mixing it up. Blah 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 blah. They put it in the talisman. Marnie doesn't remember the fucking spell.
Oh my god. And he's like, just try. Like Dylan's like, just try something. And she has all these random things that are. It's funny because I can never remember the actual spell, but I always remember exactly what she says. Where she's like, better march, better get there, better get going until there's no more beds.
Yeah. But obviously that doesn't work. And she's trying and trying. And guess who saves the day?
Sophie.
Always. And she just starts, she's like, I made up a song.
Betty ma, Betty fear. Other words I don't remember bid.
Yeah. So so she remembers the spell and then they do it all together, but it does not work the first time around because they did not believe hard enough. No. So they believed and then it worked.
Yeah. Well, they needed to do it together. Where she's like, we need more than one witch. So finally Marnie's like, oh, Sophie, like you've kind of, carried us all on your back this entire time. Maybe if we did it together, meaning probably if Sophie just did it on her own, she would have done it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Not to rag on Marnie, but I think Sophie probably could have handled it.
Right. And then they go back to the theater and they go back to the theater to save Mom and Grandma. I love this moment. I got really fixated on this moment when she was like, Dylan's like, oh, why isn't this working? And Marnie remembers Aggie saying, mortal see, mortal do. And she remembers that what we do in the human world is we light a pumpkin on our doorstep and we put a light in the pumpkin. And that's what makes her, she had a good moment. She had a smart moment. Marnie, I give her credit.
That's her moment.
And she was like, I need to put this in the giant pumpkin that's in the square.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know why I love that moment.
Mortal
it was
see,
just
mortal do. Yeah, it's like it all comes together. You're like, oh, this is why we needed to see the pumpkin at the beginning, why it's like such an important symbol, because it's the first thing we see in the entire movie.
Right.
The opening credits is the giant pumpkin in the town square.
Right. So they kind of figured that out. And then Luke's like trying to get in the way, but I think at this point he's trying to be helpful, but he's like, it's a trap.
Yeah, he like warns them and says, it's a trap. Let me help you because I owe you. And so he does. He helps him out. But anyway, before he does that, the big scary monster guy appears on the roof of the city hall, and everyone in town just happens to be outside, which is interesting. But anyway, they're all there, and he's like, "Join me, be evil, blah blah blah," like total like villain speech. We've all heard it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "And then I will reveal myself," and he shows that he's Calabar. Which to me, like, I don't know if it's an intimidation tactic, but like if you show the scary monster face first, I'm probably gonna be like, I don't want to listen to that guy. Like I feel like he would just be more convincing if he was just the mayor and was like, yo, like I feel like he could have done a little more under the radar and probably would have been successful.
Yeah, and then maybe if he needed to scare some people, then he could show up.
Yeah.
In his scary.
Yeah. Like I feel like he could have been more like under the radar, more political about it.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He just full blown. I think he's just over it because he's mad that Gwen doesn't want to stay there and he loved her and he's just bitter.
Yeah. And there's a good Dylan quote here. He says, I can't believe Mom dated that guy.
Oh my god.
He is so funny.
And then what Calabar's like, oh, I need to, before we all like, because he assumes that the town's just like totally on his side. And I don't know if the townspeople don't necessarily look like they're agreeing. They're just kind of there. And he's like, but first we need to find the person who's trying to stop us, which would be Marnie, the young witch.
Right.
And he thinks he sees her because he sees Grandma Aggie's cloak walking away.
Yep.
But this is very important because it's just the cloak.
Yeah. So Calabar demands the talisman back, starts attacking Marnie, who he thinks is Marnie, and then it ends up being Luke.
Yeah. He just put on the cloak and he's like, fooled
to protect her, and then Marnie's like booking it to the pumpkin to get that thing in there. you know.
Get that thing in there.
Get that thing in there. Marnie starts to get attacked though when she's climbing in, and then we get this great slow motion, her like half asleep, the whole movie dialogue going through her brain like, mortal see, mortal do.
Yeah, you're not a witch, because like her mom's voice is in there. And then the last thing she hears, I'm pretty sure, is all you have to do is think about what you want and then let yourself have it. And then she passes out.
And then she drops the talisman and it just perfectly goes right into the pumpkin.
Boom.
Boom. Saved, right? No.
False.
Too easy. And then, yay, the frozen people start to wake up and Grandma and Mother run to find the kiddos.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens.
But then, Calabar's not dead.
No. He's like kind of stunted, but all it did was break the curse that he did, which is good. You know, we need those people safe.
But he has not been defeated, though.
No. All it did was break the curse on the people, but he's still around, and he kind of just waves his little hand. This is how powerful he is. He just waves his little hand, and the talisman just comes right out of the pumpkin into his hand, and he's like got a hold of it again.
Yep. And then he gets the talisman out of the pumpkin. And then he's really upset about Gwen choosing a human over him.
Yeah.
It's like, how long ago was this, dude?
Yeah, it's weird because it's like his big like, because she's like, why, Calabar, why? And he explains, and it's like, has to do with like, you could have been my queen, like you ran off with some mortal. And it's like, is that really your full motivation here? Because this is a bit extreme.
Yeah.
Like, if this happened to every single person that I've dumped in the past, like that would, like, the world would be gone as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that.
Yeah, it's like you come back and you go, we could have ruled the world together. And like, it's like, dude, I have kids and I've moved on.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
What do you want?
This is why we need a prequel.
This is why we need a prequel.
Because we don't understand what their relationship was like.
Can we be in it? Thanks, Disney. Okay.
Yes. If the dad and him had a thing going on where they didn't like each other.
Oh my gosh, they probably didn't.
So
the dad probably like sussed out. Okay, we're making this whole thing up.
Yeah, we'll write you, Disney.
We'll
get you.
We got some ideas.
Aggie and Gwen start chanting at him in typical fashion, and Dylan has powers.
Yeah, he's like got little sparkle fingers.
Yeah.
And Marnie's like, looks like we have another witch in the family, and she goes, or should I say warlock?
Why not? Why isn't it a wizard?
There are no wizards in this world except Merlin exists. So, and I always thought Merlin was a wizard. I've never heard Merlin been referred to as a warlock, even though I think it's interchangeable. But it's just interesting that that's the language that they choose.
Yeah.
And Grandma Aggie has her little like pocket talisman. It's like tiny version, and she's like, ah! And she starts. I think it's Latin, maybe Welsh, and she's like chanting at him. And Gwen knows the spell too, and so she starts saying it. But then when the other kids join. And lastly, Dylan, they just start humming.
Yeah.
They're just,
Yep, they're all holding hands, humming around like the campfire kind of shit. And it works. Calabar,
he just
dead.
Disintegrates.
Disintegrates.
Just like the witches in Hocus Pocus. It's a very similar effect there.
Yay, he's dead. And the end of the movie is really cute, I
is.
think, because the mom is like, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And is more supportive of Marnie, like, being like a witch, and probably for Sophie and Dylan will be a lot more supportive.
Yeah. She's like, I'm going to complete your training rather than Grandma.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's really sweet. So she's like fine with all of this now.
Yeah.
One of the weird things, and I know it's just to like tie everything together because, you know, we've done theater, so we know how like that has to happen, especially at a curtain call, which is kind of the bus moment, is like when everyone's waving on the bus. So they're all sitting in different seats, so they're not sitting next to each other on their ride home, which is kind of funny, just so they can all appear waving out the window.
Right.
And then also Luke is the one driving the bus, which is like there was a bus driver.
Yeah. And also the thing about Luke too is he is, I don't even know what he is, a goblin.
Now?
And he was, Calabar roped him into being his little like nemesis or whatever because he promised him to look handsome.
Yeah, which I guess that means he likes human girls specifically, because I feel like to other goblins he'd probably look fine as far as I know. Like if that's what his like species looks like, it probably would be fine. So his idea of beauty, I guess, is based on humans. So maybe that has to do with something with Calabar's anger, is like maybe the human form is the ideal form still, even though all these creatures are different and diverse.
Yeah. Yeah, so
weird.
he has a big ass nose and Marnie gives him a little kiss on the cheek.
cheek kiss. And he's in the sequel, but he looks very different. It's the same actor, but the makeup is different. It's weird.
I need to watch the sequel again because I can't really remember what happens, to be honest.
We'll watch it. It's called Calabar's Revenge. So is he back?
Ooh.
Find out next year.
Stay tuned. And yeah, so the movie ends and Gwen invites Grandma to live with them because she has to go to her PTO meetings on Thursdays and she wants someone to babysit. And she's going to continue Marnie's training and probably the other kids as well. And the movie ends with Aggie, Gwen, Marnie, Dylan, and Sophie all flying back to the mortal world as a big, happy family.
Yeah, it's good. It's jolly. And then the bop plays.
Mm-hmm. And that is Halloweentown.
That's it.
What a good movie.
I loved it.
What a ride.
Well, we hope you enjoyed watching movies.
Yeah.
We're hoping to do this more regularly and make it a thing. But I think the next time we'll see you will be probably around November. So
Yeah.
Or December. So we're going to hit the ground running with some Christmas movies. And
Yeah.
we're going to watch the 12 Dates of Christmas.
Mm-hmm. 12 Dates of Christmas. And maybe after that, The Christmas Prince.
Oh, we hope so.
We'll see. We'll see what we do. But if you guys have any suggestions also, we're open to that. And you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Bad at Watching Movies. We just made those. So we're going to post on those more regularly. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this first episode of Bad at Watching Movies.
See you next time.
Bye.
We did it.
Okay.
That guy is such a wiener. Are you kidding me?
Are we bad at watching movies?